Hey guys! So, welcome to my very first podcast. I'd like to start off by thanking whoever the hell is watching this and gonna listen to this, and hopefully, you all don't get too angry, but I think there's something we need to discuss here. So, the first thing I want to talk about on my very first podcast, because I think it's super important, super crucial, and super relevant right now, is the 2020 presidential election of voter fraud claims. So some of you listening right now might go, yeah, there was no fraud, blah, 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 blah. And some of you might be going, yeah, there was fraud. Well, you don't want to call it fraud. I don't know what you want to call it, but we all have to acknowledge there's some weird fucking shit going on here. Between dead people voting, more registered voters voting than more people voting than registered voters. The spike them in the middle of the night. We all saw that secret box of ballots getting pulled out from underneath that table. There's a lot of fishy things going on here, and there's a lot of honest, hardworking people willing to testify in court and have signed affidavits that could prosecute them if they are lying in court, willing to basically throw their life on the line to say what they saw. And some people still aren't thinking this is fraud or enough evidence of fraud or whatever. I don't know. I think whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, you are a voter and not a politician. Don't you really want to know if the integrity and authenticity of your election is valid? Wouldn't you be a little bit curious at all to know if what you think is democracy matters? Or are you just keeping silent because you think your side won? At this point, I don't really think, as much as everybody would love Donald Trump to be president again on the Republican side, I don't really think this is about that 100%. Yeah, it's a driving force, but I think America needs to know if their elections are rigged or not, or influenced by outside sources. Because I do know of a certain side that for the last 4 years tried their damnedest to say that Russia intervened and helped Trump win, when that was all proven wrong, but nobody actually wanted to apologize for it afterwards for slandering a man. You know? So I thought I could start off by listening and watching to right-wing media. Oh no, heaven forbid both sides get to tell their story. What they came up with today for voting fraud. So let's go up here. OAN, here we go. Here we go. So this is 5 minutes. Let's see what they say.
Voting irregularities and evidence of fraud are quickly piling up in key battleground states across the country. One America's Kirsten Sharp breaks down the totals from each state.
No matter what you hear on the mainstream media, keep this one thing in mind. Joe Biden has not won the election.
Facts. He is not officially president-elect. Not everything is certified, and it has not been signed at that whatever date that matters to you guys. The mainstream media does not elect or predict or get to say who president-elect is. Just a fun fact there.
Big Tech will probably put a label on this report claiming this information is disputed and then censor the story.
Right?
It doesn't matter. The harder they try and cover up the facts, the more their desperation shows, which just proves one thing. They're scared. The sham they've been perpetrating since November 3rd is going to come crashing down.
Yeah.
If this were any other election at any other time in America's history, officials on both sides of the aisle would be outraged over the staggering evidence of voting fraud. But this isn't any other time, and this isn't an election between President Trump and Joe Biden. This is an election between President Trump and the globalists who want to carve up America and sell it to the highest bidder.
Yep.
There are vast amounts of evidence that foreign entities have meddled in this election, not the least of which is China, a nation with an obvious interest in getting rid
I got a fun video
of
for you
President
guys
Trump
too.
and putting in someone who's easy to control.
A little sleazy Biden there. Him and his family getting rich off of the Chinese people. Hey, none of y'all care about that? That's cool. That's cool. You hate Trump enough that shit's cool with you? Where are your morals? Or did you guys lose them all in a fucking riot earlier this year?
Maybe someone whose family has already accepted over $1 billion from the communist Chinese government. Someone like Joe Biden.
Ooh.
So let's take a second and break down the election and see exactly where things stand.
Yeah.
While many states have already been called for the predictable winners, there are 6 key battleground states where the levels of fraud are off the charts.
Yeah.
Let's start with Nevada, because that was one the Democrats thought they'd win handily. The official
I would just like to point out that these are all proven between the recounts and them checking things like obituaries and the fucking graveyard and seeing who's dead and who's alive. Also to duplicate votes that were found, people who no longer live in that state that was found, a lot of things. So this shit got counted, and nobody during the first count double checked shit and went through the controls to verify these votes were valid. So you have voter fraud on one end, and then you have election fraud on the other end, because the people that were left in charge to count, who did not allow Republicans to view the ballots as they were counting them for whatever psychotic reasons they felt justified, committed fraud on their end too. So I'm just saying, there is election fraud and there is voter fraud. It happened. It's happening. It's currently going on as we speak. I'm just saying.
story is that Biden won the state by 33,000 votes. That's a good margin. Should be a clear win. Except it's not. It turns out about 1,500 people who voted in Nevada's elections are dead.
Oh shit.
Another 2,500 changed their addresses to another state or even another country. Some 6,000 voters were flagged by the post office as having vacant addresses. 8,000 voters cast ballots from addresses that don't even exist. 15,000 people somehow voted from vacant or commercial properties.
Oh.
20,000 voters somehow cast their ballots from out-of-state addresses. And the big one, a whopping 42,000 voters successfully voted twice in the election.
What?
Now, even without knowing who all these people voted for, Republicans and Democrats should want to get this cleared up and ensure our election integrity is being maintained.
Yep.
Not just when your guy is winning. So they
seems
say
fair.
Joe Biden is up in Nevada by 33,000 votes. Well, right there, that is 95,000 fraudulent votes, which should automatically put the state back in the running for President Trump. But Nevada isn't alone. It's a similar situation in Pennsylvania, where Biden won by 81,000 votes.
Oh shit.
But the thousands of dead and out-of-state voters in Pennsylvania add up fast, and in the end come out to some 121,000 fraudulent ballots cast in the election. It's the same story in Wisconsin, where Joe Biden apparently won by 20,000 votes. But in reality, some 200,000 fraudulent ballots were cast in Wisconsin, again totally erasing Biden's lead. In Arizona, the AP called the election for Biden, claiming he was up by 10,000 votes. But Arizona is even worse than Wisconsin, with over 300,000 fraudulent or questionable ballots cast in the state. In Michigan, Biden is reportedly up by 154,000 ballots. But that's only until you count the more than 500,000 fraudulent ballots that have trickled in since Election Day.
What?
And then, of course, there's Georgia, where Biden somehow managed to swing the bright red peach state to blue, coming in ahead with 12,000 votes. Except that now we have mountains of evidence of voting fraud, including Republican poll watchers being forced to leave under false pretenses so that poll workers could count secret stashes of ballots
isn't that a little
unobserved
fishy?
for hours. It's worth mentioning, during that time, the number of votes for Biden skyrocketed while those for Trump simultaneously plummeted. That leaves Georgia with more than 200,000 fraudulent votes, meaning Biden is clearly not the winner. This is the situation we're dealing with. The evidence for fraud is greater than it ever has been, and yet the
Oh, where those
mainstream media
votes
and
come
Democrats are completely ignoring it. Or worse, they're actually complicit in covering up the greatest election fraud in American history.
That's scary.
All with the goal of
I hope I
undermining
win.
democracy and overthrowing the
Jail
duly
time's
elected
deserved for that
president
shit.
of the United States. Until we have answers for these very real and very serious questions, our voting integrity is not secure,
No.
our democracy is not safe, and this election is not over.
No.
For One America News, I'm Pearson Sharp.
Thanks,
Want to
Pearson.
see more videos like this? Visit OANN.com.
OAN's actually really honest, and yeah, you guys may think of them as right-wing media, but they're just reporting the truth. I'm just saying. Okay. So, now, let's see what my man Tucker Carlson said today. Because this one should really concern you all. Really concern you all. And might I add, translators verified all this. Give me 2 seconds because we're having some technical difficulties. Okay, so this one's really concerning. I'm actually going to make myself smaller and make this bigger so you can read the subtitles. And bear in mind that two American Chinese people did make sure these translations were correct in the subtitles. So have your mind blown. And this is only a little snippet of an 18-minute video. I'll show you where to go after that.
The man you're about to see speak is a professor from Beijing called Di-Dong Cheng. The video comes from an appearance that he made on a Chinese television show about Wall Street and international trade. Di-Dong Cheng works at Renmin University in Beijing. He is also, like so many in academia in China, a servant of his country's government. This video was deleted from Chinese social media soon after being uploaded, and there's a reason for that, as you'll see.
偏偏特朗普政府跟我们打贸易战，那么我们为什么搞不定特朗普政府？啊？为什么以前1992年到2016年之间，中美之间各种问题都能搞得定？是不是？大家发现没有？所有的危机，不管是银河号事件，还是炸大使馆，还是撞了飞机，所有事情全部是床头吵架床尾和，2个月之内搞定。什么原因？啊，这儿我抛出一个可能又要是暴论了。 就是因为咱们上边有人，啊，就是我们在美国的权势核心圈啊，我们有我们的老朋友。
There's a lot of garbage floating around the internet right now, a lot of fake things. That video is real, and those subtitles are accurate. We checked today with 2 different Chinese speakers and confirmed that. What he just said, what you just read on the screen, tells the story. This is as close to a smoking gun as we have ever seen. Quote, we have people at the top of America's core inner circle of power and influence. According to the man you saw, that has been true for decades. So who are these people, and how many of them work in our media and in our government? Well, he didn't say precisely. At one point in the video, he described a Chinese agent working as a vice president at, quote, a top Wall Street financial institute. I can't say more, he explained, without making political trouble. Di-Dong Cheng did tell his audience that one agent in particular was especially useful. He goes on at some length about her. He describes her as an American who's lived abroad for many years, who is now a Chinese citizen. And this seems to baffle him a little bit. The Chinese government doesn't allow dual citizenship. Why would they? Why would anyone? Di-Dong Cheng seems pleased that the U.S. government is foolish enough to allow it. He explains that this American agent, who lives at least part of the year in Beijing, helped the Chinese government with a propaganda operation in the city of Washington in 2015. And he goes on to describe that in some detail. The Obama administration was easy to manipulate, he suggests. They helped. The Chinese had many friends among the Obama people. The problem came when Donald Trump was elected. After that, he says, everything changed.
是呢，就过去这个30年啊，过去40年，我们在美国的它的这个利用它权势核心圈，是不是？我前面讲过，华尔街在1970年代开始对美国它的内政外交有非常强的影响力，啊，所以我们有路径依赖，是吧？但问题是08年之后，华尔街的地位下降了，更重要的是16年之后。 华尔街搞不进特朗普，为什么？很尴尬。特朗普以前对华尔街有过一次软性违约，所以双方有矛盾啊。当然，这个细节我就不多说了，时间可能已经来不及了，是吧？那么，这个中美贸易战过程中，他们也试图帮忙啊。据我所知，美方的朋友跟我讲，这个试图帮忙，但是啊，力有不逮。
Since the 1970s, he said, and he's an economics professor, you should know, Wall Street has had enormous influence over the way the United States government operates over American policy. The Chinese government, he says, has enormous influence on Wall Street. And that arrangement worked very well for a long time. Then Donald Trump unexpectedly was elected in 2016, and Wall Street was infuriated. Wall Street can't fix Trump, he said, but they tried. And this solves the mystery. If you're wondering why our political class has stood by and allowed the Chinese government to degrade this country and our way of life, why they stood by as the Chinese government has flooded the United States with deadly opioids that have killed hundreds of thousands of people, or have stood by as the Chinese government ripped off billions in intellectual property from our companies, there's your answer. Earlier this year, the chairman of Harvard's chemistry department was arrested for taking $50,000 a month from the Communist Party of China in return for sending secrets and referring top scientists to Beijing. It barely rated as a scandal. You may not even be aware it happened. Why? Because so many are on the take, in effect. Donald Trump was an impediment to this very lucrative arrangement. And for that reason, Li Zhangsheng explains in the video, America's most powerful elites, and he calls them that, got to work on electing a new president. Again, read the words at the bottom of your screen as he speaks.
但现在呢？现在我们看到拜登上台了，传统的精英、政治精英啊，这个建制
As
派，
an American, I'd be
他
afraid
们
right
跟华尔
now.
街的关系是非常密切的。所以大家看到吧，拜登的儿子被特朗普说你在全球有什么基金公司，发现没有？谁帮他建的基金公司啊？明白吗？这个都有买卖啊。那么。 所以这个时候啊，这个时候我们
Oh, Donald Trump, he notes, because the Chinese do pay close attention to what we say here. Donald Trump has complained about Hunter Biden and his ties to the Chinese government. Those are real, he just confirms. So now you know why you weren't allowed to talk about Hunter Biden's laptop, why big business aligned as one, the tech companies and the rest, to suppress that story. Because they were implicated in it.
Ooh.
Back in October, we interviewed a man called Tony Bobolinsky. We interviewed him because no one else would. Tony Bobolinsky was a business partner of the Bidens. Here's what he told us about China.
And in a document that you guys have, and I think it's been provided, to the world, the Chinese reference that because of their trust in the Biden family, that Chairman Yi and Director Zhang are excited about moving forward in this. And in that document, they reference loaning $5 million to the BD family.
Right.
The BD family is the Biden family.
What are the implications of this going forward? If Joe Biden is elected president, which could very well happen, how does this constrain his ability to deal with China?
Are you asking for my personal
I am. I'm
opinion?
asking for your opinion as someone who's worked with the Chinese.
So I think Joe Biden and the Biden family are compromised.
I
There you
think
have it,
Joe
folks.
Biden and the Biden family are compromised with China. Looks like he was right about that, and it looks like the Bidens are far from the only ones who've been compromised.
Whoa. Now, I don't know what y'all think about that. Hopefully, people who haven't saw it yet sat down long enough to actually listen and watch. Does that represent what you want America to be? Is that what you voted for? I know you didn't vote for Donald Trump, but is that what you voted for? Somebody who's going to so easily sell your country out. Same people who are telling you there's no voter fraud right now. Same people who are telling you that. Same people that man from China is mocking your country with right now. Same people that he has by the fucking balls and vagina. I'm just saying, that's a little fishy.
We want to start tonight with evidence.
if I was an American, that would really upset me. That actually really upsets me right now as a Canadian because I know that my prime minister is on his hands and knees dick and holding balls for China right now and loves every moment of it. But yeah, that fucking motherfucker's coming too. On to you, Trudeau. All right. So, what else is here? Because there's a lot of damning evidence. Voter fraud. Kind of sad that people are just trusting the same people that lie to them all the time and thinking there isn't any. Like, what constitutes to you as voter fraud? What is widespread voter fraud? Because if any of this shit happened on the opposite end, you damn well know you'd be all complaining. For 4 years, you guys raised a fucking wrongful investigation on the man for something he didn't even do. It seems to me like the Democrats do exactly what they're accusing the other party of doing. So it's like a little smoke and mirrors act, you know, look over here while we do this, right? So I don't really think people that you voted for as a Democrat are the people that you really want running your country. Tulsi Gabbard, I think that's her name, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right or wrong. She's a gem. She would have been a great Democrat. She would have been somebody I would have even supported. I would, as the first female president or vice president. That woman has integrity. That woman would have done your party some good. That woman wouldn't have destroyed America. That woman, as the first female president or vice president, I would have been proud of. I'm tired of everybody praising the first female to do something because that is so wrong on so many levels. If they earned it, cool. If they're a good person, cool. But if you got there by lying, cheating, stealing, and destroying, and whatever in your pathway, shame on you. Shame on you. And shame on the women who praise that shit and just turn a blind eye to it because they're happy a vagina did something a man can do. Well, anybody can make their way to the top fucking sucking dick and cheating and stealing and lying, okay? So, all right, and here we have the infamous video of those ballots being pulled out after they told the Republicans and the poll watchers and the press to leave. What's this? What was in the, why were they hiding under the table? Why weren't they in the regular spot that they're supposed to be in? What is this? This should actually have everybody raising questions. Should it not? Or is it okay because your side's winning?
Each state. One America's Emily Finn has the latest. A video of poll workers carrying suitcases stuffed with ballots captured the attention of
the nation as President Trump's legal team presents evidence of voter fraud in yet another battleground state. In Georgia Thursday, the president's attorneys Rudy Giuliani and Jenna Ellis questioned witnesses in the Peach State, alleging the election results were undermined by rampant fraud. The Trump campaign team posted a video of One American News coverage of the hearing, as the mainstream media chose to ignore the fact-finding session. Jackie Pick, a lawyer volunteering for the Trump team, presented the video evidence of Georgia poll workers at the State Farm Arena reaching under tables and pulling out suitcases stuffed with ballots. Some of them were forced to evacuate over false alarms of a pipe burst, but Pick provided a testimony of what actually happened on Election Day.
Not everybody left according to plan, and some people stayed behind. So this shocked them, so they returned back to State Farm Arena at about 1 o'clock in the morning, where they confirmed that, in fact, people had just left State Farm Arena in contravention of what they had been told by the supervisors who are running this operation.
Other witnesses at Thursday's hearing also presented examples of voter irregularities.
2,506 felons voted illegally in Georgia. 66,248 underage and therefore ineligible people to illegally register to vote before their 17th birthday, when the law requires 17 and a half years old. At least 2,423 individuals to vote who were not listed as registered.
And the examples continued to pile up from there. It's important to note, Georgia's current election results show Democrat nominee Joe Biden with just a 13,000 vote lead. In the meantime, protesters gathered outside the Atlanta courthouse Thursday for a Stop the Steal event,
showing support for President Trump and casting doubt on the number of votes in favor of Joe Biden.
Here to support the Stop the Steal movement.
Wait a tick. I thought you ain't black if you don't vote for Joe Biden. This guy looks pretty black to me. Just saying. And that's another tangent to get on later with you woke liberals and how you think you can delegate what black people should and shouldn't fucking do, and how you want to call everybody who's not on your team that's white a fucking racist. Last time I checked, telling black people what they can and cannot do as a white person is pretty fucking racist. Just saying.
And I believe in what President Trump has been doing for the last 4 years. Like you said, I mean, this country is prosperous.
In an interview Thursday, Georgia's Governor Brian Kemp called for more transparency in the state's election system, adding he believes the signature audit must be carried out for the 2020 elections. The Trump campaign's legal team is set to continue their fight to ensure free and fair elections, as they've already traveled to Pennsylvania, Michigan, Arizona, and now Georgia to present evidence of illegitimate election results. Emily Finn, One American News.
Want to see more videos like this?
So, is that not voter fraud or enough irregularities to make you question what's going on here, people? I don't know. If you are an honest, truthful person, no matter what side you voted for, you should be asking yourself these questions and wondering what the hell is going on. And shame on you if you were okay with everything and turning a blind eye just because the person you think you wanted to win won, or whatever. That is wrong. Shame on you. You're guilty too. I'm sorry, but it's not about this anymore. It's about your election integrity and how easily infiltrated it was. How easily it was infiltrated. That is wrong on so many levels, and people have been getting away with it, clearly. And not to mention, too, these machines like to glitch to the left only. And they mentioned that in Michigan the first few days after the election and fix those votes. Okay, so if that one machine system there did it, then how many more across America did it? Really? And is it okay for dead people to vote? Is that okay? Is it okay for people to double vote? Is it okay for people who are too young to vote? Is it okay for people to vote from different states for your state? Is it okay for people with no registered address to vote? Is it okay? Is that okay? Not to mention, too, what I found here that I just thought I would point out. Here we have Real Clear Politics. They're not saying that there was voter fraud because nobody really mainstream is. We all know why. But this is something they did say that I thought is worth noting. Why the 2020 election was neither free nor fair. Why? The 2020 presidential election was neither free nor fair. Much of the debate has focused on the question whether or not voter fraud was, whether alleged violations of the rules moved through votes in key states to overturn the outcome, or whether speculative theories about hacked voting machines and software should be taken seriously. These claims remain unproven. I beg to disagree, because it's all being proven in court if you pay attention. But wait, mainstream media is not covering it, so a lot of people aren't going to think it's true because their friends on CNN didn't say it. But while voting is the most important event in an election, it is not the only event, but the accumulation of a process. There are common international standards about what makes an election free and fair. These criteria summarized in the Inter-Parliamentary Union include the absolute right to a secret ballot, the right to express political opinions without interference, to seek, receive, and impart information to make an informed choice, the right of a candidate's equal opportunity of access to the media, the right of candidates' security to freedom and association of others. Many of these were violated in 2020. Our friends Twitter and Facebook helped with that, didn't they? Fraud was not as important as what Democrats were able to accomplish legally, for example, by pushing the country to adopt by vote in mail by a massive scale. The scientific basis in doing so, which is always dubious. South Korea and Israel both had national elections at the height of the pandemic in March and April, and both used in-person voting almost exclusively. Neither could be accused of laxed approach to COVID-19. But before the country had adopted an entirely new system of voting in the middle of an election, at the urging of one party and over objections of the other, Democrats also sued the lower safeguards against the fraud in absentee ballots. The attorney leading many of those lawsuits, Mark Elias Perkins Coie, was also the key figure in hiring Fusion GP's produce the fraudulent Russia dossier. An attempt, the fraudulent Russia dossier, it was fraudulent. An attempt to smear Donald Trump in the 2016 election. So the Democrats play dirty. Are you okay with this? Are you okay with this? Real fucking Clear Politics is talking about it. Are you gonna read that? Are you gonna read that? You want to get your little fact checkers over here with their little fucking spectacles and fact check this shit for me? Are you gonna falsify this one? Fact checkers from an independent source? All right, Democrats prefer to vote by mail because it allowed them to turn out low absentee voters. Republicans prefer to vote in person. The standard practice is worldwide, partially because of an attachment to tradition, but also because many Republican voters did not trust the mail-in ballots would remain secret or would be delivered at all by postal workers whose union has had backed Democrats. Joe Biden. I wouldn't trust that place either. Republicans turned out voters. Democrats turned out envelopes. Beyond that unfair advantage to Democrats, there was flagrant abuses of the principle that make an election free and fair. Political violence was widespread and carried out almost entirely by left-wing groups alongside Black Lives Matter. Political violence was widespread. Political violence was widespread, carried out mostly entirely by left-wing groups alongside BLM. Through most protests were peaceful, hundreds were not. 48 of the 50 largest U.S. cities experienced riots, and did many smaller towns. Democrats minimized the violence and blamed the police or the president for the unrest. With the riots came a national panic that came to known as cancel culture. Conservatives feared speaking out to lose their jobs and social media accounts or their livelihoods. A poll in July revealed that 77% of Republicans were afraid to share their political views. That is so sad. That is so fucked up. And I myself, I can contest to this. My Facebook that I've had since I was 13 years old and I'm fucking 30, it has all the photos from every major milestone in my life, all of my memories. And I had just gotten verified. I was on my way to getting my super dope blue check mark. I was super proud and excited about that. I didn't use my booty. I used my brain to get there. Kind of rare in a woman's world, right? And in the process of me uploading my ID to get my blue checkmark to become a verified influencer, user, whatever you want to call it, public figure, all of a sudden I get booted out of my account, okay? I get booted out of my account and I try to go back in and log into it and it tells me my account has been disabled. So I go to the help link or whatever it is, try to go through all that, had to switch computers to be able to upload my ID because it wouldn't let me from my phone do it. And then I get a little red warning message that basically states, this account has been disabled permanently and cannot be disputed because I violated their community's guidelines and standards. How? I don't share nudity. I don't partake in any bantering or battles or slander. I share facts, videos, memes, and I support Donald Trump. They won't even get back to me and give me an answer as to what I violated. I can only assume, because my views and opinions are to the right, and I started actually making my voice heard around the world and people were liking it, that they deemed that as a threat. And they took away 17 years of my life and my memories because I don't go with the narrative. I make my own. Shame on you. Shame on that. Anybody that happens to, that is so disheartening. I can't even get my memories back. I don't even want that account. I just want my photos, but they won't get back to me. Stupid me for putting everything on there, right? Thinking Facebook was something that everybody used and it was going to be something I had till I died, right? Stupid me, stupid me. Sorry I shared my opinions with the world and people liked my opinions. But yeah, so what happened to me because I wasn't afraid? And what was it for? At least I got the word out and I got a lot of people thinking. At least thousands upon thousands and thousands of people around the world. And you'd be surprised to see what countries actually support Donald Trump and what people think he's a great leader. And what a lot of people think. That discussion's not allowed to be had, is it? Okay, where was I? Sorry, but I just thought I'd point that out. And that even happened to me. My memories, so they're gone. I have to start fresh. I'll probably get taken down again. And I'll probably get taken down again and again and again and again. but I'm okay with that. I just won't use Facebook to entrust any of my memories. But wait, I can't create any more because of COVID. It's bullshit. It's really bullshit. And if anybody thinks that's okay from the left because it hasn't happened to you, wait till you don't fit their narrative. Wait till it's not a Democrat they're supporting. Just wait till it's your fucking turn. See if anybody fucking cares. Okay. The extreme bias of mainstream media also suppressed conservative pro-Trump views. Media fact-checkers cast Trump as a liar and ignoring Biden's lies about Charlottesville and much else. The 2020 election also featured unprecedented censorship. Google manipulated its search engines, and I said this all the time all over Facebook, and I would show them side by side, actually, between DuckDuckGo, Yandex, Google, what shows up, and how easily influenced people are. You realize being trapped at home and relying on the media and relying on Google and relying on your social media, your perspective is all controlled by a handful of people, and you don't question it? You trust it? Okay, Google manipulated its search algorithm to bury conservative views. Facebook and Twitter suppressed debate about the coronavirus. In October, when the New York Post published credible allegations about Hunter Biden's laptop and emails, which exposed Joe Biden's past dissembling, Twitter and Facebook both censored the story. Yeah, they did. I got actually silenced for 12 days because of it. On Twitter, not Facebook. I've never had a penalty on Facebook until now, and actually I didn't even have to dispute it. I got taken away. All right. In October, when the Twitter and Facebook both censored the story, mainstream media appalled the censorship and demanded more. They applaud the censorship and demanded more because they want to have their fucking hierarchy over this world. They want to run this world. They want to fucking act like they're fucking kings and queens. Fuck you. Other factors also made the 2020 election unfree and unfair. The Commission of Presidential Debates was stacked up against Trump, with one moderator caught conspiring with a prominent Trump critic. An election year impeachment based on claims by a whistleblower whose very name and censored voluntarily the press cast the president as illegitimate. Former military leaders like Admiral William McRaven also called for his removal. The sooner the better. Most of these abuses were legal. That's why the result of the election cannot simply be set aside. When the laws were broken as a nationwide riots and voters arguably delivered their own verdict, punishing Democratic candidates for the violence in the party's waffling of defund the police. But we cannot pretend that what happened in 2020 was acceptable. It leaves many Republicans convinced that the system was rigged, even against a red wave. We need to make urgent changes. If voting by mail cannot be reversed, it must be made more secure or replaced with a secure 100% American and politically independent remote voting system, because we all know Dominion is. So yes, they're not acknowledging there was voter fraud, but they're going to say that the system is not good. How is that fair, right? It wasn't fair. It's not fair. It's not fair. Political parties must condemn violence unequivocally. Big tech must lose its immunity under Section 230, which it has abused. The Commission of Presidential Debates should be replaced. Above all, free and fair must be standard to which American elections are held. So I thought that was actually a really good article, despite them not acknowledging voter fraud. They did acknowledge a lot of the ways it was not fair and not right. Which, in my mind, I think should have some constitution towards these voter fraud allegations being taken a little bit more seriously by people on both ends. But it's super one-sided, and of course when the world is going in your favor, you're not going to say jack shit, are you? Are you? You're okay with it, right? Right? You social justice warriors, you all out there causing hell and burning down innocent people's businesses in the name of justice. Right? All you middle-aged, white, fucking overweight, unmarried, unkept females who are just angry because nobody stuck a dick in your vagina for how many fucking years and you want to go raise some hell. All you little fucking weirdos who hung out under the staircase fucking plotting, shooting your own schools, but now you have a voice because you get to go around with your little riot gear with Antifa. You guys are really fucking cool, aren't you? All right, so now let's see what the betting report on Newsmax has to say.
Okay, guys, they failed at canceling Thanksgiving. No way on earth they would try and cancel Christmas. Not now, no way.
So the next big holiday is obviously the Christmas New Year's holiday, where people tend to travel, want to be with family, but we just can't do it this year.
The war on Christmas just got real, people. It's time to fight for our frankincense. It's a magical time of year, a season of wonder and amazement, when millions of Americans go to bed, and while we are all sleeping, something magical happens and we wake up to a miracle. Obviously, we're not talking about Christmas here. We're talking about Joe Biden's 2020 election night. Here is what the election map looked like at midnight on November 4th. It had Donald Trump projected to win over 300 electoral votes in a landslide if heavy Trump trends remained. But wait just a moment. 'Tis the season of giving, and swing states gave a lot to Joe Biden on this magical night. Stacks and stacks of ballots with Joe Biden's name on them were found under the election night Christmas tree in the morning. Keep in mind that all this happened in key swing states where President Trump had previously held massive leads earlier in the night. What? How is that legal? Actually, it isn't legal. And there's a lawsuit going to the Supreme Court over it in Pennsylvania. The vote totals, shockingly in these states, matched precisely the margins that Biden needed to win, to make up these states that evening. A Christmas miracle, guys. Now pause for a second. If Donald Trump won this election with the vote totals that came in like that, do you think the DNC PR wing media would be telling the country to shut up and accept the results? Would you even be proud of that as a conservative? Of course not. Honest, decent people are disgusted by this level of grinchy election rigging and abnormalities, no matter who it benefits. That's just honesty. Another magical abnormality is the fact that Trump expanded his base massively by 11 million votes. He grew his support with black voters by 50% this election, increased his support with Hispanics by 35% nationally. But he still lost? No incumbent president in history has lost re-election while expanding his base of support. A piece in The Federalist lays out more of Biden's seemingly magical election night miracles. Joe Biden supposedly received 80 million votes. 80 million, that's a ton. That's 11 million more than Barack Obama received in 2008 at the pinnacle of his popularity. Despite somehow beating Obama's turnout, he won a record low. Joe Biden won a record low of 17% of American counties. Joe Biden won only 527 counties in America. Compare that to the 873 counties that Obama won in 2008. Joe Biden did this all without campaigning. A Christmas miracle, certainly, people. Another miracle is the fact that Joe Biden won despite losing most historic bellwether counties. Trump won 18 of 19 counties that historically predict the winner of presidential elections. But don't you worry, Magic Joe pulled it all off. And you'll be banned from social media for questioning his magic. Magic Joe will be the first president in 60 years to lose both Ohio and Florida, but still win the election. Biden underperformed Hillary Clinton everywhere in the country, except in a few key counties. Pollsters Richard Barris and analyst Robert Barnes have noted that Joe Biden underperformed Hillary Clinton in every major metro area around the country, except for Milwaukee, Detroit, Atlanta, and Philadelphia. How magical. Magic Joe won despite Democrat losses nationwide. 27 seats were rated as toss-ups. Republicans have not lost a single one of those seats. So far, it appears that they will win them all. That means that Republicans went and voted for their local officials in the GOP, but against the most popular Republican president in modern history? That's true, by the way. President Trump received 94% of the primary vote. Historically, no incumbent who received 75% of the total primary vote has ever lost re-election. A record 18 million voters showed up for President Trump in the 2020 primaries. That's more than any incumbent in history. The previous record, held by Bill Clinton, only had 9 million. Trump had an army, and Joe Biden had kindergarten circles. Joe Biden did not campaign. He did not inspire. He could barely speak. We all saw it. He regularly forgot his words or made up new ones. Take a look.
I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize true international effort to pressure.
Do you guys believe that magical Joe Biden, in a Christmas miracle, actually received 80 million legal votes without campaigning? Then you are in for some coal from the Benny Report this Christmas. Send us your address. Hopefully it'll be a post office box in Georgia.
So I'm just going to end on that note. Thank you for everybody who decided to watch. And if any of that was new information for you guys, I really hope you take a moment to think about it and do your own research and go past Google and mainstream media like CNN and whatever the hell. And actually really look into what happened that day and really take into account all of the irregularities and everything like that, because I don't think this election was fair. I don't think this election was right. I think it smells a little fishy. And you should too. Until next time, guys. Oh yeah, don't forget to follow me, like, click, share, all that gay shit. I will have a better intro, outro next time, but I just wanted to get some of this stuff off my chest. And yeah, till next time, folks. See you around.